Good afternoon. This is Stan Schumacher, the Deputy Speaker and member of the Legislature. Let us pray. In our mind's eye, let us see the awesome grandeur of the Rockies, the denseness of our forests, the fertility of our farmland, the splendor of our rivers, the richness of our resources. Then, O Lord, let us rededicate ourselves as wise stewards of such bounty on behalf of all Albertans. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions. Introduction of bills.
Mr. Speaker, Communications Technology, Research and Telecommunications. Sorry.
Mr. Speaker, I beg leave to introduce a bill, being Bill 37, the Alberta Government Telephones Reorganization Act. This is a money bill. For honor, the Honourable Lieutenant Governor, having been informed of the contents of this bill, recommends the same to this Assembly.
The Honourable Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications has moved first reading of Bill number 37, Alberta Government Telephones Reorganization Act. All those in favour of this motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 37, Alberta Government Telephones Reorganization Act, introduced by the Honourable Mr. Stewart, is now read a first time.
The Honourable Minister of Energy.
Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill number 51, the Gas Utility Statutes Amendment Act 1990. Mr. Speaker, this bill addresses three issues. One, it makes explicit the right of consumers to purchase gas directly. Two, it establishes the power to make regulations dealing with security of supply, both of direct sales arrangements and distributor supplies. And three, it provides for the Public Utilities Board to establish an alternative method of settling franchise taxes that will enable municipalities to close the tax loophole favoring direct purchasers. Mr. Speaker, the bill contains amendments to 4 acts: the Gas Utilities Act, the Municipal Government Act, the Rural Gas Act, and the Municipal Taxation Act. Mr. Speaker, Bill 51 is a significant step in addressing both intra-Alberta and ex-Alberta core market policy. Passage of this bill will enhance our ability to finalize Alberta's proposal to allow direct sales to core market customers in other provinces. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Energy has moved first reading of Bill number 51, Gas Utility Statutes Amendment Act 1990. Having heard the motion for first reading, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 51, Gas Utilities Statutes Amendment Act 1990, introduced by the Honourable Mr. Orman, is now read a first time.
The honourable member for Edmonton Gold Bar.
Mr. Speaker, I beg leave to introduce Bill 246, entitled An Act to include midwifery as a profession under the Health Disciplines Act. Mr. Speaker, the purpose of this bill is to include the profession and practice of midwifery as a member of a designated health discipline, thereby ensuring Alberta women have a wider range of safe, secure alternatives for all obstetrical needs.
You want to be independent of licensing?
Order, please. The honourable member for Edmonton Gold Bar has moved first reading of Bill number 246, an act to include midwifery as a profession under the Health Disciplines Act. All those in favor of this motion, please say aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 246, an act to include midwifery as a profession under the Health Disciplines Act, introduced by the Honourable Member, Mrs. Hughes, is now read a first time.
The honourable member for Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill number 238, being the Environmental Ombudsman Act. This act would establish an independent office, Ombudsman's Office, which would provide citizens of Alberta with a recourse to right a perceived environmental wrong when they feel that government action has been, or inaction has been inappropriate, and when they feel that the courts are too costly or too cumbersome a way to deal with that inappropriate action.
The honourable member for Edmonton Meadowlark has moved first reading of Bill number 238, Environmental Ombudsman Act. All those in favor of this motion, please say aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 238, Environmental Ombudsman Act, introduced by the Honourable Member, Mr. Mitchell, is now read a first time.
The Honourable Minister of Telecommunications, Research and... Oh, sorry.
And reports.
The Honourable Minister of Telecommunications, Research and Technology.
Mr. Speaker, it gives me great pleasure to table the 1989 annual report for Alberta Government Telephones.
Right.
Introduction of special guests.
The Honourable Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure on behalf of the Honourable Ken Kowalski, Minister responsible for Public Affairs Bureau, to introduce to you and through you to members of the Assembly, members of the Visitor Service Management staff from legislatures across Canada who are holding their first national meeting in Edmonton. From Prince Edward Island, there's Philip Michael and Jim Strew. From Quebec, there's Gilles Anger. Saskatchewan, Lorraine Montagny. From Toronto, Karen Leonard. From Ottawa, Brenda Laporte, Susan Wright, and Diane Bryden. From Nova Scotia, Michael LaFinn. From the Northwest Territories, Sharon Burness. And from Alberta, Marianne Gibson, Manager of Visitor Services, Ann Hayward, Program Coordinator, and Jackie Edwards, Administrative Coordinator. Mr. Speaker, they're seated in your gallery, and I would ask they rise and receive the traditional welcome of the Assembly.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Utilities.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to introduce to you and through you to the members of this Legislative Assembly 34 students, parents, and teachers from the Manning Elementary School in the town of Manning, referred to, if you're locally there, as the Shangri-La of the North and the Moose Capital of the Peace. The students are accompanied by teachers Mrs. Leslie Snyder and John Elliott, by parents Reverend George Belcher, Kathy Lawrence, Julianne Simpson, Sue Johnson, Sandy Kalina, and Marlene Finnebrotten. And I would ask that they stand there in both galleries and receive the warm welcome of this Assembly.
The Honourable Minister of Telecommunications, Research and Technology.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have pleasure today in introducing to the Assembly two gentlemen who are providing strong leadership for Alberta Government Telephones, and they're here today to witness a very significant event in the life of this great company. I refer to a former member of this Assembly and colleague, Dr. Neil Weber, the Chairman of the Commission, and Mr. Hal Neldner, the President and CEO of Alberta Government Telephones, I would ask them to rise and acknowledge the welcome of the Assembly. Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to take the opportunity to introduce a former colleague and member of this Assembly, the former member for Calgary North Hill, Mr. Ed Oman, and his wife Alyssa, who are in your gallery, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure that all members here welcome Mr. Oman to the Assembly today. Or at least we would ask the members to give a warm welcome to.
The Honourable Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to introduce to my colleagues a very special guest from Chicago, Illinois this afternoon, Ms. Trinda Gray O'Connor. Trinda is a representative of the International Association of Assessing Officers. The purpose of Trinda's visit here today is to view the facilities within the City of Edmonton and as well the province of Alberta as a possible host site for the IAAO convention for 1995 of some 1,600 delegates, Mr. Speaker. Accompanying her this afternoon is René Gagné, Assistant Deputy Minister from my Department of Municipal Affairs, and also Bob Dunham, the Sales Manager for the Edmonton Convention Centre. I'd like those persons to stand and be recognized by this legislature.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Kingsway, followed by Edmonton Mill Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to members of the Assembly 12 students from the English as a Second Language classes at the Alberta Vocational Centre in my riding. They are in the public gallery and they are accompanied by Shell Montgomery. I would request that they rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Mill Woods. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very pleased today to be able to introduce the members of the Assembly, a native-born Albertan who is currently the Director of Orthopedic Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery at a hospital in Sherbrooke, Quebec. He's on his way to a national conference of orthopedic specialists in Vancouver. He also happens to be my brother-in-law, together with his little sister, Shelley Young. Derek Young is in the public gallery. I ask that they please stand. Shelley Young, by the way, who's my wife, ask them to please stand and receive the welcome of the members of the Assembly.
The chair will get this right this time. The Honourable Member for Edmonton Whitemud.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to my colleagues in the House two very special visitors from Marburg, Germany. Mr. Arthur Hannig is a businessman from Germany, and he's accompanied by his wife, Maria. I would ask the two of them to stand in the public galleries as we give them the traditional warm welcome of the House.
Ministerial statements.
The Honourable the Premier.
Mr. Speaker, Alberta is a wonderful part of Canada. It has tremendous wealth and strength. It is financially the strongest province in our country. Much of Alberta's wealth is held in trust for Albertans by their government. This wealth is in places like our forests, our public lands, our coal reserves, our Heritage Savings Trust Fund, our Crown corporations, our conventional oil and natural gas, our huge oil sands, our water, buildings, bridges, roads, and parks. Now and then, it is possible for the government to place part of this wealth in the hands of individual Albertans so that they can more directly enjoy the benefits of investment, of receiving the profits directly in the hands of individuals and families. to participate in future growth of Alberta through capital appreciation and dividends. Albertans can remember similar opportunities, such as Alberta Gas Trunkline, now Nova, and the Alberta Energy Company. And you'll recall, Mr. Speaker, that Albertans strongly oversubscribed to those opportunities. We have now identified another opportunity for individual Albertans to invest in, and that is a great global telecommunications company, Alberta Government Telephones. Alberta Government Telephones' future no longer lies in being a small provincial telephone company operating within the boundaries of our province. We're in the midst of an exploding, exciting new world of global communications and technology, and Alberta Government Telephones will be a major leader in the tremendous potential of this industry on a worldwide basis. I want every man, woman, and child in this province to have the opportunity to participate in the profits and growth of this great company. And the government will help with this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to announce that Albertans will have a period of time when only they can buy these shares. And I hope that they buy the entire offering. Also, Albertans will be able to purchase the shares from every possible financial institution in the province. And for additional help, Albertans and only Albertans will be able to buy their shares on an installment basis over 12 months at no interest cost. We will make it possible for average Albertans, families and individuals to participate. This proposal represents the logical next step in AGT's evolution from a regional utility into a worldwide competitor. It will also be a cornerstone in our drive for new technologies and new opportunities for Alberta. Simply put, Mr. Speaker, the bill introduced by my colleague today is a bill of confidence in Alberta, a bill of confidence for Alberta's potential in the vast world of telecommunications. As all members of the Assembly know, Mr. Speaker, the sale of shares in AGT has been under consideration for some time. So this is far from a proposal of impulse. But I know we can expect reaction from those who will, by impulse or ideology, oppose the sale of shares of AGT. More importantly, Mr. Speaker, though, I expect that Albertans will have questions about our proposal, because AGT has been a well-managed Crown corporation, and AGT has deservedly earned the respect of hundreds of thousands of Albertans. These are some of the questions we know Albertans will raise. They will ask, how will this share offering affect our phone bills and services? The answer, Mr. Speaker, is that there are many protections built into our proposals. There are assurances for Albertans, and they are in the legislation tabled today. Second, we know that many rural Albertans will ask how this legislation might affect their services in rural Alberta. I'm pleased to confirm to the Assembly there will be no impact on the finalization of individual line service for rural Albertans. This is a commitment we made, and it will be honored. The same is true of extended flat rates. There will be no negative impact on this program. In fact, it will be enhanced significantly. The details of an improved extended flat rate calling program will be announced by June the 15th, 1990. We expect Albertans will ask, is there any danger that AGT will become a foreign-owned company or eventually move out of Alberta? The answer to both of those questions is an absolute no. Legislation will be explicit about keeping AGT's headquarters in Alberta and restricting foreign ownership to 10%. Mr. Speaker, all these years, AGT has been entrusted by the people of Alberta to their government. And now we want AGT to continue to be entrusted to individual Albertans. As one other indication of the ongoing tie to Alberta, 2/3 of the board of AGT will be required to be Albertans. People will ask the actual percentage of shares to be offered and the price. Our response must be that this will be dictated by conditions when we go to the market. But we will say with certainty that the first offering will not be 100%. A major question might be the impact on employees. And we give employees these assurances. No employees will be laid off. Employees' salaries will not be affected. All existing contracts with employees will be honored. And employees will have opportunities to be owners as well. And for further protection of Albertans, Mr. Speaker, the Crown will supplement its legislation through a special share, sometimes called a golden share, which enables the government to approve any fundamental changes in the corporation. This golden share supplements the legislation tabled today, enables the government to ensure there are no fundamental changes to the company that can be made that are not in the interests of Albertans. Mr. Speaker, some might wonder about selling shares in AGT while Canada is in the midst of a potential constitutional crisis. But whenever you try to bring change, there's always some reason to hesitate. Ultimately, the answer is simple, Mr. Speaker. There is no reason for Alberta to stand still. There is no reason for us to be afraid. This is no longer simply a regional telephone company. This is a complex telecommunications company which can compete worldwide and can market its services in places where we as a government of Alberta have no reason to be involved. And to continue with new innovations, AGT is going to need new investment dollars, which should not come from taxpayers. Which leads me to my final observations. Our government has made a policy choice. We believe it is the right choice. We'll defend it in this House and to the people of Alberta. And how all of us, as legislators, respond to this proposal will say a great deal about how we feel about today's Alberta. Do we really believe that Albertans are afraid of change? Let me use some words which define our purpose today. These words may not be popular in all places, but they are words which belong in Alberta. They are words which bring strength to this province. Words like enterprise. Words like private ownership, shares, investment, risk, and profit. Words that lead to the creation of new wealth in our province, to benefit all Albertans, to bring jobs, to save small communities, to help our cities grow. Mr. Speaker, in the days ahead, our government will proudly support this legislation, allowing Albertans to purchase shares in AGT. It's part of our resolve to bring change, to keep prosperity in Alberta, and to make an outstanding investment opportunity available to Albertans on a special preferred basis. I and my government have faith in Albertans, Mr. Speaker. I know they'll respond positively and aggressively to support this great opportunity. Thank you.
Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, in replying to this ministerial announcement, often I've had to say I agree with some of the words. In this ministerial statement, I agree with absolutely nothing that was said by the Premier. Absolutely nothing. Mr. Speaker, I've sat in here since 1982, and I've seen major mistakes made by this government, and this will go down as a classic, Mr. Speaker, another major mistake made by this government. Now, Mr. Speaker, on one hand, the Premier says it was a well-managed company. Mr. Speaker, I would think if it was a well-managed company doing the job for Alberta, we'd want to maintain that company doing the job for Alberta. I don't understand why you sell it, Mr. Speaker. I would remind the Premier when he says that some Albertans want to own it, Mr. Speaker. All Albertans own this telephone system right now, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the point that I would make to the Premier is that AGT, I agree with them, has been a well-managed company. It's made, usually small profits over the years, but provided a tremendous service. And if he wants to compare the services to a private telephone, just look to BC. They can't compare, Mr. Speaker. And it's rural Albertans that better be very worried about this, Mr. Speaker, because once you bring the profit motive into this, there will go cross-subsidization. And maybe they can say, well, we're not going to do this right away, Mr. Speaker, but you watch in the long run. That's what's going to happen. It's inevitable, Mr. Speaker. Now, every report that I've seen, the Sherrod report, the Oley report, are predicting, Mr. Speaker, are predicting increases. And these are reports that the backbenchers in this government better take a look at. The only report done for the Saskatchewan government said there would be an increase of 167% in rural areas and 147% in urban areas, Mr. Speaker. And that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. It's inevitable. It's happened in the United States with private telephones, and it's going to happen here, Mr. Speaker. There's many unanswered questions that we'll get to in question period and during the bill, Mr. Speaker. But I want to just say, the old saying, the Premier stands up and says, well-managed company. The question that Albertans are going to be asking him, if it ain't broke, why try to fix it, Mr. Speaker? Why are we selling it? Two reasons. Because we've mismanaged the finance of this company and we're looking for, of this government, of this province, and we're looking for a quick fix, Mr. Speaker, with $11.5 billion debt. And talk about ideology. Talk about ideology, Mr. Speaker. The Premier stands up and he says, I hope we're not going to be ideological about that. One hand he says a well-managed company, the next hand he says, I'm going to sell it because the private sector works better there, Mr. Speaker. That's ideology. That's right-wing ideology, Mr. Speaker. So I will say this. I would say this to the Premier. I'm quite prepared to fight this bill all the way in the legislature.
Oral question period.
Well, Mr. Speaker, my first set of questions will come back to a certain aspect of this, Mr. Speaker, that perhaps the Premier didn't talk about in his area, and I expect he might not know about, so I'll send it over to the Minister of Technology, Research, and Telecommunications. Mr. Speaker, in addition to this bill that was introduced today, moving towards privatization of Alberta government telephones, we now have published reports that indicate Alberta has completely caved in, I say completely caved in, to the federal government and agreed to hand over control of telecommunications industry in Alberta to the CRTC. Mr. Speaker, that's incredible. Mr. Speaker, it seems that privatizing the ownership of AGT wasn't enough for this government. It's decided to give away the control also to Ottawa, Mr. Speaker. Previous Alberta governments must be totally dismayed with what's happening in this province today, Mr. Speaker. And I say to you, privatization and loss of control are going to hurt Alberta consumers badly over the next number of years. But my question to the Minister is this. How does the Minister justify this total sellout of Albertans' right not only to own, but to control their own telecommunications system?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I guess the questions and the reaction from the opposition and the Leader of the Opposition are very, very predictable. And indeed, I would hope that during the course of this debate that he certainly gets his head out of the sand and sees what's really going on in the telecommunications industry and in this country.
That's right.
Mr. Speaker, some time ago, I believe it was in August 1989, the Supreme Court of Canada, in a decision between the AGT and CNCP, ruled that the jurisdiction in respect to telecommunications lies in the hands of the federal government. Shortly thereafter, a bill, C-41, was introduced in the House of Commons which would remove the Crown immunity aspect. That bill still sits in the House of Commons agenda. The telecommunications minister, the Honorable Marcel Mass, has indicated time and time again that he will be proceeding with removing this company from immunity and putting it in the hands of CRTC. Now, we can sit around with our heads in the sand, or we can be active and do those things that are going to protect Alberta.
Mr. Speaker, an absolute cave-in. Instead of fighting for the people of Alberta, you're going to cave into the government of Ottawa. Just like interest rates. Just like interest rates. Just like the GST. It's the same old story, Mr. Speaker. And I want to ask the minister this question. This has been so important for the people of Alberta, the ordinary people of Alberta. I want to say, why has he caved in so easily and just gave up on this very important matter for the people of Alberta?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the situation really is this, that we have a whole change in the area of telecommunications. AGT is a strong company, a respected company, and there's no doubt about that. But we want to preserve that opportunity for the future subscribers in Alberta. But it grew under a monopoly situation. That was the situation in the past. We are now moving to competition. In fact, I've even had visits from Unitel already. Competition is coming, and it's coming fast. Technology is increasing at a dynamic rate, and with that, the costs of capital investment. Now, either private sector can put up that capital for the future and have access, for the company to have access to capital equity markets is going to be indeed the answer for them to keep up with technology in the future. So, Mr. Speaker, there's no doubt about it that the whole scene in telecommunications has changed. It's one where we have to position AGT to meet those changes in order to be responsible to the subscribers and taxpayers of this country, or this province.
Well, Mr. Speaker, all due respect to the minister, you're evading the question. If it's going to be such an important industry, and it's going to be a profitable one in the future, why have we caved in? First of all, why have we privatized it? And then why have we caved into the federal government? Why haven't we fought to have that here in Alberta?
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's no caving in when you lose a decision in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has ruled that this is a matter of federal jurisdiction. And they've already brought forward a bill, as I indicated. It's on the order paper.
The second main question, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, it's a sad day, but to come back to the Premier then on this sad performance today in terms of ministerial announcements, Mr. Speaker, we're trying to fill in the lines. I know he likes to talk about free enterprise and free this and free that, and the only ones that usually don't have it free is the Premier and his cohorts over there and their friends, Mr. Speaker, and the rest of us end up paying the price as we did with Mr. Pocklington, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to say to the Premier, he talks about all the connections, all the questions here, you know, that be answered, how people are going to be protected and all the rest of it. And he used Alberta Energy Company, Mr. Speaker, as an example. I would just remind you what governments can do. In 1974, they said, no person shall purchase or hold voting shares of the company in the right of or for the use or benefit of a non-resident unless such non-resident is a Canadian citizen. Well, last year we changed that so that now 10% can be foreign-owned, Mr. Speaker. The point that I make, Mr. Speaker, we can't trust this government's promises. They promise no taxes. Promise no taxes in the election, Mr. Speaker. And isn't it the truth, Mr. Premier, to the Premier, that this could be changed by this government a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, or 4 years from now, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, the only people who are sad today may be ideological socialists. Now, they may be sad. But if they're thinking of the people of Alberta and the tremendous opportunity they have, they should be happy, and damn happy, because this government is providing an opportunity for the people of this province to invest in a tremendous opportunity. So, Mr. Speaker, I know the Honourable Leader of the Opposition and his party do not like change. Change is part of our world today, and we are going to make sure that Alberta is in the forefront of change in this world.
Here, here, here.
Mr. Speaker, there's nothing we like better than change, and we'll all be cheering when we change this government, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, any move to privatize AGT could jeopardize the tax-exempt status of AGT as a Crown corporation, Mr. Speaker. This means this company will have to could pay up to anywhere from $120 million to $180 million a year in provincial taxes. These costs, Mr. Speaker, would be passed on to the consumers in the form of higher rates. And my question to the Premier is this: isn't it true that Alberta consumers are going to face massive increases in basic monthly telephone rates to pay for this sellout by the people of Alberta, Mr. Speaker?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, will this Premier then stand in his place in this Assembly and say that there will be absolutely no future increases for the consumers, either urban or rural, in the next 5 years, Mr. Speaker? Tell us the truth.
My God. God, Lord.
Mr. Speaker, that's hardly the kind of speculation we should engage in.
Question? Supplemental?
Go ahead again.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, then my supplementary question is simply this to the Premier. It's simply this to the Premier. One of the things he says, he's very vague about, he says that 100% of it won't be shared in the ministerial statement, Mr. Speaker. Could he be a little more specific? Is it 99 or is it 1%, Mr. Speaker?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it must be the fact that I had the Leader of the Opposition in my prayers this morning that you've given him an extra supplementary today.
He needs it.
After him promising no more. Well, Mr. Speaker, obviously the decision on both the size of the offering and the price will be determined by the market at the time that the shares are placed before the market. We are saying it's not 100%. You could take as a rough estimate that we'd be aiming at around 50%, but that could change depending on the market, but aiming for 50% as an initial offering.
Well, a member for Edmonton Glengarry, Leader of the Liberals.
Mr. Speaker, I thought I heard a liberal chirping there. Occasionally he shows his colors, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
Nice show last night, though, Rob.
with respect to the AGT privatization, I must first call into question the timing of this announcement. I really think that Albertans are facing, along with other Canadians, the most crucial constitutional crisis that has faced Canada. And to put this on the platter for Canadians, for Albertans to deal with when it's so easy to be diverted on other matters of concern, I think is unfortunate. Mr. Speaker, I have no ideological hang-up on privatization. But when you have a government that has allowed for some $100 million to be paid out because of the goofs on Principal Group,
and you have $100 million or so paid out because of the goofs of this government on Pocklington, you have to ask, Mr. Speaker, whether or not the proper analysis has been done. The onus is on this government. The onus is on this government to prove this beyond any shadow of a doubt as to the benefit to Albertans. My first question to the Premier is this. Given the fact, Mr. Speaker, that this is a matter of extreme complexity, dealing with CRTC and PUB, the fact that 70% of toll revenues now accrue to AGT that is allowed to cross-subsidize rural Alberta, will the Premier commit now to release all of the studies that show the benefits to rural and urban Alberta on this scheme?
Mr. Speaker, having heard and watched the honourable member jump around on every issue in the House, I assume he has no ideology at all. Mr. Speaker, in the normal course of events in the legislature, when people ask for documents or various studies and so on, all they have to do is place it on the order paper and the House decides.
You got it. Mr. Speaker, when you ask for Pocklington documents, you don't get them. When you ask for documents on forestry, you don't get them.
Ask who paid for the briefcase.
Give us the facts, Mr. Premier. Mr. Premier, my second question is this. Given the fact that this is likely to have an extreme negative effect on rural Alberta, would you agree to allow for public debate, before a decision is made on this bill so that rural Albertans and urban Albertans can be convinced that there's no danger to them whatsoever on this scheme?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member can try and draw up some specter of big, terrible things to happen to rural Albertans. We're making sure that doesn't happen. And Mr. Speaker, for someone to say when a bill is introduced in this House, allow for public debate, well, let me follow that reasoning. We have a first reading, we have a second reading, debate, we have committee study of every clause, and then we have third reading before royal assent. Now, if that isn't public debate, what is public debate, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, given the fact that the Premier is afraid or won't agree to produce studies to prove the point, given the fact that the Premier will not allow for public debate, I mean public debate where we go into all of Alberta, rural Alberta and urban Alberta, will the Premier at least allow one little thing, and that is for a special select committee of this legislature to closely examine this matter before any decision is made, allowing that committee to call experts and to call witnesses so that this can be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is good for urban and rural Alberta?
Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the leader of the Liberal Party did not hear what I said when I said the government has made a policy choice. The government is going to support that policy choice outlined in the legislation in this assembly, which is where public debate is conducted by the representatives of the people of Alberta. I can't think of a better place. That's where we will debate it. Now, I can tell by the activity by the opposition, they don't like this. They know Albertans like this. And they know Albertans are going to support it strongly. And I'm sure of that because I know the people of Alberta. They believe in the future and strength of this province.
The honourable member for Cardston.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications. In his ministerial statement today, the Premier mentioned a highly valued program that exists in rural Alberta known as the Extended Flat Rate Calling. This program allows communities to call neighboring exchanges within 65 kilometers at a predetermined monthly rate. In 1986, this government initiated a major program in conjunction with AGT to give this service to a number of communities. But there remains several anomalies within this program in rural Alberta that need to be dealt with. In view of the announcement today, can the Minister assure us that these anomalies will be dealt with under the 1986 guidelines?
Mr. Speaker, there's no doubt that when the government of 1986, this government, announced certain programs for rural Alberta, it did so with a commitment to the people of Alberta, as rural Alberta, and that's a commitment that we will maintain. As the Premier indicated, the individual line service, for example, will continue and be completed. It will be the only digital, fully digital electronic system in all of North America. The extended flat rate calling program that the honourable member mentions is there. We have some 400 routes now established in Alberta. That is a commitment to rural Alberta. Those sort of assurances that the honourable member requested will be honoured. We have had a number of discussions with the CRTC in my meetings with CRTC, with the Minister of Communications federally. We are assured that those programs for rural Albertans will be part and parcel of the CRTC regulations in the future. It's interesting to note, Mr. Speaker, that when I talked with the Commissioner of the CRTC, he indicated, when I expressed concern and made sure that the rural interests would be taken care of, he said, why would we ever touch the type of programs that you have in Alberta? He says, they set a standard for the rest of Canada.
Supplementary to the Minister, perhaps he could give us some idea of the timing as to when the EFRC program will move forward, and also the program for the isolated areas program that's in existence. Will that one be carried on?
Mr. Speaker, the program, the extended flat rate calling, will continue on as it has in the past, with more and more routes coming on stream. But in the course of representations that have been made by the honourable member and other colleagues, it has been evident that indeed the program has caused certain anomalies throughout the province. We are examining those with AGT at the present time, and on June the 15th of this year, we will be making an announcement with respect to improvements in the extended flat rate calling program.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton-Avonmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions are to the Minister of Health. Women in major cities such as Red Deer, Fort McMurray, and Lethbridge have no access to the medical procedure of abortion. South of Calgary, rural women have no access to the procedure. Even in cities where abortions are performed in hospitals, access is not guaranteed, as in Edmonton, where 8 to 16 women per day are turned away from the Royal Alec Reproductive Care Clinic, and Planned Parenthood has to refer out women who are more than 7.5 weeks pregnant. Will the Minister now admit that there is a serious problem in access to this medical procedure?
Mr. Speaker, the question of reasonable access to medical services is something for which I, as Minister of Health, am responsible, and that is reasonable access to every medical procedure in this province. That doesn't mean that every procedure is going to be available in every center of the province. Rather, it means that on a provincial basis that we have that reasonable access. It is certainly my view, and it's one that I've expressed publicly, that the issue of access to this particular procedure is of concern to me in northern Alberta. Southern Alberta, in fact, appears to be handling the procedure quite well. But the question of how we monitor that procedure, how we ensure that access to the procedure is reasonable, is one that I am reviewing constantly and will continue to do so.
Mr. Speaker, when half of the women are turned away from a reproductive health care center in Edmonton, that hardly seems that there is reasonable access. I would ask the Minister to look at the statistics that are available to monitor what is happening in southern Alberta, not Calgary where there are no waiting lists, but Calgary hospitals will not do the procedure for women outside of the city because their facilities are full to capacity. Will the minister look at this access problem and act immediately to ensure that women in this province have what is reasonable access?
Mr. Speaker, I'll repeat my first answer, and that is that I am responsible for reasonable access to medical service, and I will constantly continue to monitor it and ensure that that's available.
The honourable member for Edmonton Goldbar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we've listened today to the Premier's statement and his answers on the proposed AGT sale. Albertans hear this kind of thing with anxiety, and certainly Albertans have expressed to me and to others their lack of confidence in the government's judgment in business dealings. Mr. Speaker, I must say I'm very disappointed in the Premier's response that there's no intention to make public the documents that back up this proposal, and that there is no intention for public study of the proposal before it is brought to the legislature for determination. Mr. Speaker, my questions to the Premier are, will the Premier answer to the House how the agreement between AGT and Edmonton Telephones is going to be secured and protected? Does the government continue to guarantee the toll to Edmonton? My constituents are concerned about this very question, Mr. Speaker.
First of all, Mr. Speaker, and I'm going to ask the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications to respond on the details. I did not say to the honourable member that nothing would be provided. All I said is make your requests in the normal manner, and the House will decide. That's completely different than her standing there, my honourable friend, and saying that I refused. So I just asked her to be accurate with her comments, and we can keep our warm friendship. Now, Mr. Speaker, I would like the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications to deal with the details.
Mr. Speaker, during the last several months I've had an opportunity to meet with Mayor Reimer and other officials of the City of Edmonton, as well as the Chairman and President of EdTel. And we have had a number of discussions that would lead us to conclude that we will have the opportunity to ensure that all of the obligations that relate to ET and AGT will be transferred to the new AGT, and that those sort of obligations will continue as part and parcel of the liability and obligations of the new AGT. I'm pleased that in a number of areas, Mr. Speaker, AGT and ET have been able to establish cooperative measures in various areas of their service. They are currently discussing a way of establishing a memorandum of understanding between them, and the cooperation between ET and AGT has been very, very successful.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I'm appreciative of that commitment. Mr. Speaker, I'd hope that the Premier would want to publicize his background in order to show the benefits, if any, of this proposal. But my next question to the Premier, Mr. Speaker, is it's anticipated that some $70 million, at least, in new federal taxes will have to be paid. Where, except from higher rates, is it proposed that this money will come from?
Mr. Speaker, one of the advantages of the proposal that's being put forward is the opportunity for this new AGT to unleash itself and to become a full-fledged telecommunications company. Had we tried to adopt the type of posture that the official opposition is putting forward, namely virtually a status quo, we would have found ourselves in a situation where there's a fence around the company, where with long-distance rates going down, the only avenue for new revenues would be local rates. And the experience of any telecommunications company virtually in the world will in fact bear that out. And I would suggest that those who think differently should just look around and look at, indeed, even at New Zealand, the socialist government there, in moving towards a similar sort of conclusion. The opportunities for the new AGT in new revenues, new opportunities for their employees should be of real benefit to all Albertans.
The honourable member for Grand Prairie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Advanced Education. Mr. Speaker, I'm concerned about the University of Alberta and their restriction on enrollments in certain faculties such as agriculture and forestry, education, arts, and so on, because this could have a very negative impact on students from northern Alberta. And my question to the Minister is, could he report to us if there's any progress being made if colleges such as the Grand Prairie Regional College brokering courses from these universities to help our northern students?
Mr. Speaker, the Grand Prairie Regional College is a very important integral part of our 29 institutions, which are receiving over $1 billion from the taxpayers of Alberta. I've not formally received a proposal from Grand Prairie Regional College, Mr. Speaker, but it's interesting to note that this year's budget they've received an additional $1.7 million in program funds. We presently have a very successful program between the U of A and Red Deer College, for example, in brokering a baccalaureate nurses program. I'm quite prepared to look at that if and when it arises, Mr. Speaker, but of course I could not make any commitment at all in terms of any budgetary funds.
Supplemental, Mr. Speaker. Well, where would the other universities, foreign universities, such as those in the United States or as far away as Hawaii, would they be more accessible to colleges such as Grand Prairie?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Mr. Speaker. At the moment, we have other institutions which are non-resident, Gonzaga University, for example, offering programs through Keano College in the north. I would look forward, Mr. Speaker, following the passage of Bill 27, which may indeed, Honourable Member for Edmonton Centre, point out the real world to many of our post-secondary institutions in serving the needs of Albertans.
The honourable member for Edmonton Calder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions are to the Minister of Family and Social Services. The chronic shortage of treatment beds for children with mental health problems and children who are in need of protection of social services has been a problem in the province for some time now. It is very hard to make sense of the recent closing of 15 receiving beds at the Yellowhead Treatment Centre because of cuts to staffing. Mr. Speaker, this means, and these are real examples, that children on serious medication are not being monitored properly, and children are being placed in situations that are completely inappropriate to their needs. To the Minister, why has this Minister allowed these beds to close when these children very clearly need appropriate treatment in the Yellowhead Treatment Centre?
Mr. Speaker, I'm not aware of any children that haven't received appropriate placements. In reference to the Yellowhead Youth Center, Mr. Speaker, as the member opposite knows, that that particular facility holds up to 73 children at any one given time. That as a result of a unfortunate strike, the facility was downsized to 18 residents. We're very pleased, of course, Mr. Speaker, to see the strike come to an end, and since that has occurred, we have seen again appropriate placements and children returning to that particular facility, and we are now up to just over 40 children in the placement of the Yellowhead Youth Center.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, 15 beds have been closed, and there's a waiting list of over 30 kids to get into that unit. Mr. Speaker, I'm also aware that the department's response in investigating sexual assaults on minors is much too long due to, again, a shortage of staff. And I've just been advised of one case that was reported almost a week ago where, in fact, this particular case has still not been investigated, and the possibilities of that child being hurt or having a sexually transmitted disease remain unchecked. To the Minister, why will the Minister not staff his department adequately so that children in need of services can get them immediately?
Well, again, Mr. Speaker, it's interesting, you know, when I listen to those members opposite beginning to share the concern that we've had for children in this province for an awful long time. One of the reasons that we have essential legislation for these workers is we know how important these workers are. We know how important it is for them to be able to respond to these children as quickly as they can, and that's why I say it's somewhat ironic for those members. And I know that they don't have any strike lines to get their exercises on these days, and that disappoints them. But, Mr. Speaker, we are concerned about getting children appropriate care as quickly as we can. And, Mr. Speaker, I can only say that we do have a group of very dedicated workers that respond as quickly, as timely, and as appropriately as they can, and that we're working with those workers at this time, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that our caseloads are appropriate. The member knows that last year we added some 59 additional workers to deal with child welfare. Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue to work in a very progressive way. We have amongst the most progressive legislation, I might add, in Canada, and it's interesting for me to see the number of other jurisdictions that are turning to Alberta to follow up on some of the progressive things that we're doing as it relates to child welfare. Our children's advocate, Mr. Speaker, is there as well to make sure that situations like that aren't occurring. Mr. Speaker, again, I want to say that this government is committed to making sure that we're providing appropriate care for those children that need it.
Calgary Buffalo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This whole matter requires the soundest of business judgments, particularly when we have the Premier promising to accomplish social goals of protecting rural Albertans and promising no loss of jobs, and at the same time setting up a system in which they will have to satisfy public shareholders that they will be getting a fair return on their investment. And Albertans are increasingly asking why we should have confidence in the same government which gave all that money to Peter Pocklington and bungled the Cormy affair. Now, it's quite clear that we can't pay at least $70 million in federal income tax and not increase rates. And I'd like the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications to tell us how that is going to happen. How are we going to get $70 million of income tax and no increased rates?
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's no doubt that as a private sector corporation, it will become subject to tax. We as a province, obviously, will share in the tax revenues, and it'll be a new cash flow tax for Alberta. But at the same time, if the honourable member will check his own corporate income tax knowledge, he will know that minimal taxes will be payable for a number of years.
Small consolation. Let me get this clarified, Mr. Speaker. Is the minister saying that not only will Albertans have to pay what we estimate to be $70 million in provincial taxes, but this province is also going to add its own tax, which Albertans are going to have to pay in increased rates as well?
Yeah.
I'm talking about, Mr. Speaker, the inclusion of the corporate tax to the province that is part and parcel of the tax paid by corporations to the federal government on behalf of itself and in the province.
The honourable member for Calgary Glenmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. More than 50% of the health care dollars in Alberta are allocated to providing nursing care. And nurses represent half of the healthcare professions. Continuing education and research in nursing care is essential for the development and improvement for the delivery of nursing care in this province. A Canadian wishing to study at a university offering a PhD in nursing must currently go to another country. And nowhere in Canada can a nurse advance to a PhD level. In Alberta, we have to depend on other countries to educate our educators in order to educate our nurses. The government has had the foresight to earmark funds for nursing research in 1981, creating the Alberta Foundation of Nursing Research. I'd like to ask the Minister of Advanced Education if he would do the same for a PhD program in the province of Alberta.
Mr. Speaker, certainly it's true that the government of Alberta in the last decade alone has committed in excess of $23 million to the research, training, and facilities of nursing alone in this province, a very major commitment. I understand, Mr. Speaker, the U of A at the moment has some 3 nurses in PhD training through graduate courses. I don't believe the government, or indeed the department, would object to the U of A, for example, establishing a PhD program in nursing if they can come up with those funds from within their own resources.
Well, Mr. Speaker, a PhD program in nursing has been approved apparently at the University of Alberta, and they are having trouble allocating those funds or receiving those funds. And would the minister review this program and the funding for this program?
Well, Mr. Speaker, one has to be very frank about this matter dealing with health, as the honourable member for Edmonton Centre would know. The Hyman Commission did not identify, for example, the PhD program as being a requirement. They did point out that anything in prevention would certainly be appropriate. I must share with this House, Mr. Speaker, that as Minister I have great concerns for the lack of speech therapists and dental hygienists, which frankly, as Minister, would rate a priority over a PhD in nursing, but I'm easy to get along with, and if people can show me how it can be done, Mr. Speaker, I would do what I can to see it's implemented.
The honourable member for Edmonton Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Premier. The promise that the free trade agreement would give Canadian exporters better access to the American market has dissolved into countervail and unfair subsidy actions by the Americans that the Deputy Prime Minister of this country has called harassment and a trade war that is intensifying. Now, the United States and Mexico are starting talks for a free trade deal on June the 10th that will have even more harsh economic implications for Canada, including things like Americans muscling in on our telephone system, for example. Does this Premier concur with the idea that American capital, an economic union in which American capital will use cheap Mexican labor to develop Canada, to exploit Canada's cheap raw materials? That's where we're going.
Mr. Speaker, the extremely confused question from the member from Kingsway is difficult to answer. But it seems to me that it's quite clear that the free trade agreement between Canada and the United States should be examined in its own, in light of its own experience. And there are a number of issues which are now before panels for review and consideration, and we're going to have to expect that to happen. But for the first time in the history of dealing with disputes between Canada and the United States, there is an opportunity for Canadian representation on the panels, and the NDP seem to think it's funny that for the very first time, instead of being subjected solely to the laws of the United States with regard to countervail issues, and solely subjected to the judgment of representatives only of the United States, they think it's funny that now Canada is equally represented on those panels. Right. I think it's a major step forward in the history of international trade jurisprudence, and it will prove in the long run to be the most effective method of settling trade disputes between our countries that have ever been devised. Now, that aspect of the question I am pleased to answer. And they may not like it in the NDP, but the fact of the matter is that it's going to work to the advantage of both countries and eventually will eliminate many of the trade disputes that we've experienced in the past. Now, with regard to Mexico, that is a very confused and I suggest very poorly understood aspect of the honourable member from Kingsway's understanding of the free trade agreement. There's nothing in the free trade agreement which would permit cheap Mexican labor to access Alberta or Canadian natural resources to undermine Canadian jobs.
Sure. Well, Mr. Speaker, we were better off before the free trade deal in terms of settling disputes. We didn't have as many. But But the Maquiladora Strip shows the dangers, in northern Mexico, shows the dangers of this right-wing agenda. The wages are low, there's minimal regulation, and no conformity to normal tax laws or labor laws, or for that matter, environmental laws. So now that this free trade deal that we've already signed has brought with it the GST, high interest rates and a high Canadian dollar, countervail harassment, job losses, movement of our businesses south, and Americans muscling in on our telephone systems. To add another one.
I think you're totally confused.
How can this government possibly trust the Mulroney government to negotiate on behalf of Albertans, workers, and businesses in the trade arena?
Well, I'm surprised that the honourable member from Kingsway didn't add lame back and rheumatic fever to the list. You know, everything that's wrong with the country is because of the free trade deal. That's amazing indeed. How about the common cold? The fact of the matter is, and I repeat, the dispute resolution process in place in the free trade agreement is an absolutely remarkable step forward in terms of settling international trade disputes between Canada and the United States. And it is the first time that the United States has ever agreed to have its trade laws subjected to a bi-national panel for dispute resolution. That is a major step forward, and they don't like it over there because they're so afraid of the world. That's tough. But the fact of the matter is we are prepared to take our place along with the federal government. We're prepared to take our place along with the federal government and the private industries in this country to go before those panels and argue the case. And in fact, that is being done now in a major way in the Port Countervail case, and Alberta is cooperating with the federal government and with the private sector in order to see that the proper ruling is achieved. And I am confident that the process will work. I know the NDP doesn't want it to work because they're so afraid of the world, but it will.
Member for Calgary Northwest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At the recent Western Premiers Conference, the Premiers noted that a good, efficient telecommunications network was critical for Western Canada in particular, and especially, they noted in communique number 13, especially for rural communities. Now, rural phones generally don't make a lot of money for the company. In fact, they're probably the least profitable where they're the most needed, where the farms are most spread out. So my question to the Minister for Technology, Research and Telecommunications is this. How can the Minister, on one hand, guarantee that AGT will continue to be able to offer the extended flat rate calling and also be able to provide profitability for the shareholders that buy into the company?
Mr. Speaker, the extended flat rate calling and ILS programs are an integral part of the telecommunication services for rural Albertans, and that will remain. At the same time, a corporation will be established that will have the opportunity to pursue a wide variety of telecommunications in a global sense. And the revenues from that and the opportunities that will flow to Alberta will indeed help all Albertans.
Subsidize rural rates.
I love to dance a little sidestep as the theme song of this government and this minister. My question then to the minister following up is simply this. Has the government got any studies at all? I doubt it, but have they got any studies looking at the possible privatization of AGT, which is now a realization, of course, and the effect that it will have on those rural communities? And if you have some studies, will you table them in this House?
Concerned about rural Alberta. Well, Mr. Speaker, as the Premier has indicated, the study of this matter has been going on for some time. It is not a decision that we had entered in lightly or without full examination of all of the ramifications. And just as the Premier likewise suggested to the Honourable Leader of the Liberal Party, if there are reports or other matters that they wish, there is a proper procedure for that to take place.
Right. Time for question period has expired.
Orders of the day. Written questions.
The Honourable